Hi, my name is Steven, and I am the creator of this animation, this 1 minute long 80s anime-esque music video. So I just wanted to explain some of the techniques that I used here and kind of what the production process looked like for me. And it was sort of an ever-growing thing, so you're going to kind of see through this time lapse that I'm using different tools and sort of different approaches as I go along. And this is all in chronological order. It hops back and forth between my PC recording and tablet, my iPad time lapses, but it is more or less organized in a way that is chronologically correct, the order I did everything in. So most of everything here is done in Adobe Animate. That is formerly known as Flash, Macromedia Flash. Adobe bought it from Macromedia, now it's just Adobe Animate. And that is only because it is what I grew up with. It is the tool that I know best. I know it more or less in and out. I know all the tools that are available to me, and I've kept up with the new tools that have come out in the latest editions. And all of that work is done on Windows 10 on a Huion Kamvas Pro 22. So it's a 22-inch screen tablet that I have just mounted on this arm that I can kind of move around up and down and stuff. Makes things so comfortable and smooth. I used to have a Cintiq 12WX, which is a great little piece of equipment. I had it since I was about 19 years old, and it served me so well. But the thing is, I wanted to really bang out this pretty large project, large by my means, in a short amount of time. I wanted to get it done in time for Valentine's Day, and so I was just like, man, it's time to just up the game already. And that's what I did. I went to go get this tablet specifically to work on bigger animated projects. So anyways, yeah, what are we seeing here? This is in After Effects now. So this is me doing compositing work. And this is all sort of like the most exciting bits to me, because doing the compositing work means that I get to finally dirty it up and kind of really bring it to life in a lot of ways. When you're animating in Flash, you can kind of see me sketching out this animation right now, that all the lines are very smooth and sort of a little too perfect. That's because they work in vectors. Working in vectors is different from kind of like, I'm not sure if this is the right term, but like per pixel kind of painting. It's similar to how you illustrate things in Adobe Illustrator. So it's kind of making these curved lines between points, and everything kind of comes out very, very smooth, which, could be great for its own purposes and, for certain situations. But for what I was trying to do, I really wanted to kind of embrace imperfections and even kind of really push imperfections to make it look like an old anime from the 80s or something. One of the things that I did was just YouTube, how to make anime and stuff. Just kind of I have my own preconceptions and I can intuitively go about that, but I really wanted to see if anybody else on the internet had kind of nailed this sort of thing. And there's somebody by the username of Make Babies, and it's make baby up until the I and then .es. If you YouTube that person, you'll find these kind of how to make anime tutorial kind of things. So despite all my experience dirtying things up in the past, he actually had some really cool processes to make this look, and it's great because he even points it out and he says exactly what I'm looking for, which is an 80s anime that has a Blu-ray remaster. So you see the imperfections of it when it was captured on celluloid, when it was photographed on film emulsion, but it still looks clean and sharper than it would if you kind of just threw threw it through a VHS, it's not that kind of old. It's a very specific thing. Anyways, I love that. It just reminds me of Ghibli films, and it just reminds me of a lot of these old animations that I really love, and that's what I was trying to go for. So all that I'm doing in After Effects, and that's where everything just comes together, because After Effects really lets you put in all these imperfections that honestly you can't really get in Adobe Animate, or if you can, it's not as easy to do in it, and it's not native the tools that you would need to do something like that. So you'll also kind of see as I'm drawing over everything here. There's these little background sketches because I had an animatic at first. I did maybe 3 versions of an animatic, and the first one is like, okay, this is good enough. It's kind of like the greatest hits from a relationship that I'm in, and like it'll be really sweet to kind of like make this nostalgia piece. But then as I went on, you kind of figure out like, okay, well, the timing with like when things are actually moving, I kind of need to like either beef this scene up a bit, or this moves too fast and I need to slow it down or something like that. So there's kind of like these different iterations, but I think now as you're seeing things, it's more or less what was the final animatic. So let's see, this skateboard thing, if you keep seeing kind of like this one background where there's like a 3D model under it, it's because I'm not the greatest illustrator. I'm not terrible, but the thing is, I don't want to do all these really flat compositions. I really did want to like push good dynamic composition, different angles, and sort of like I don't know how else to say this, because I come from film, but sort of replicating focal lengths, like, okay, I want to make this look like it was shot on a long lens, or this was shot on a really wide lens or something. But sometimes I was just pulling my fucking hair out, banging my head against the desk, trying to like figure out perspectives. And there's just really handy tools online that make these 3D models available to like pose and kind of angle them and change your perspective and this and that. And I just screenshot it or export the image, and then you can kind of trace over it. So I did that for one of those shots. That was on the skateboard bit. It was really helpful. What else did I just see right now that I wanted to mention? You won't see me compositing some of these shots because a couple of them just happened like off when I wasn't recording. Let's see. So all these backgrounds, if you've kind of seen time lapses of painting backgrounds, most of them were done in Procreate, and that's an iOS application you could do on an iPad. So I was using an iPad Pro 12.9 inch with a Generation 2 Apple Pencil. And the thing about that is, like, I've never touched it in my life. I just picked it up, but it's intuitive enough, and it's sort of like you could pick it up, and if you've worked with physical materials before doing illustration work, like whether it be paints or pencils, whatever the hell, it's easy to just hop into that and be like, okay, these colors are blending right, and this is how pressure works when I like press hard or holding the pencil at an angle or stuff like that. So that's what all those time lapses are done in. There's a couple that were done in the free illustration software Krita in the beginning, but at one point I just completely had switched over to Procreate. That helicopter scene, I drew things in boxes. That's a Kim Jung-gi kind of trick I learned. He said, imagine everybody in boxes and you'll be able to kind of nail the perspective a little easier. And it helped a lot. I was able to just like bang out this one shot like really easy. One of the greatest like bits in this is like putting an optic glow from Red Giant's visual effects suite that just like really sells the sort of the way they would have those blown out portions and overexposed portions, and the bloom in animation photography, like that's just, I love that. It looks so beautiful when colors spell, especially on this shot right here, this helicopter. You'll see the green, blue, and colors of those buildings spilling through and blooming through the window, which is a total over exaggeration of how light would behave in that situation, but it just feels so good. It's like, it's really like pleasing in the eyes. This boat scene, I kind of animated a second ago. If you rewind, you can go see that like these are all kind of done on a few planes, on a few layers, where the back of the boat if the boat bobs up, then like I animate it in those layers where like the closest layer goes up and the furthest layer goes down, and you kind of can just kind of wiggle those like a seesaw and kind of like have them all move in a way that really sells this idea that there's depth to the boat and that it's kind of bobbing up and down. Got really lazy and was just like, okay, I don't want to animate this water, but I want to make it look good. So I just got stock footage of running water and put it in a really simple like version of that. And let's see, what else? More backgrounds in Procreate right here. This is another one of the photo references. Did a fair amount of work that was just, kind of original from memory and just from my mind kind of stuff. But there's some things that I just like, that's a perfect photo for what I'm trying to do, and I just use those. Like all the food right here. This is the last stuff I did, was like making all these little food shots and plugging them in. I tried originally running them through a Google Deep Dream thing, but they just like, I'm sure if I spent more time on it, I was like, I could have made them look like illustrated, but I was like, man, I should just make my own pictures. And it's, you know, more fun to do it like this anyway. They only show up for like a few frames each, but you know, I think you register it. But yeah, so that's pretty much the process. This took me, I think, a total of anywhere between 50 and 60 hours to do, on and off. And yeah, I monitor my time through the application Rescue Time. And that's kind of like not counting the hours spent on Procreate, and sort of also like on the internet, like looking up like references and stuff to kind of recreate these actual places. But yeah, hope you learned a thing or two, kind of the theory of what it's like to be able to make a production like this. These tools are so incredibly accessible to people. You know, the software I used, there are versions of these things that are out there that are for free. And, you know, a tablet, you don't have to get an iPad Pro, you don't have to get a Huion 22-inch. You can get something that is way more, way less expensive, way more accessible. And do like a really proper animation just like this, or better, probably better. So I hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed what you saw here, and if you want to learn more about this process, let me know, and maybe I'll make some more in-depth videos.